Welcome to this session, which is all about 5 things Salesforce developers should know about MuleSoft. This session is a high-level overview of if you are a Salesforce developer, if you want to walk into MuleSoft, if you want to learn, we'll try and give you some basic concepts, and then we would encourage you go back and explore them further. So again, no session in this conference can start without the forward-looking statement. So today is September 12th. iPhone 15 has launched. Salesforce has a secret new offer. Whoever can recite this in less than 30 seconds gets an iPhone 15. No. I just wanted to make sure I have your attention. So whatever you hear or see in the next 20 minutes, please don't make any buying or purchasing decisions based on that. Make all decisions based on whatever is publicly available. So a little bit of introductions. My name is Gaurav Khetrapal. This is my 13th Dreamforce, and I'm very fortunate I've spoken at every single one of them since I started coming here. I'm a Salesforce MVP Hall of Fame. I'm a certified instructor with Trailhead Academy, and I run my own consulting company called OneShift Technologies. Akshata, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Akshata Sawant, Senior Developer Advocate at Salesforce, focusing on MuleSoft. This is my first Dreamforce, and I'm super fortunate to be presenting with Gaurav. And yeah, excited to be here. I'm a global speaker, an author, and yeah, I love MuleSoft and everything around it. So yeah.
Okay. So as we said, we realize this is the last session of the day. Some of you are tired. I am definitely tired. I can barely stand. So what
Same
we'll
here.
do is, okay, this has stopped working, so we'll use that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a special gift for you. Since this is the last session of the day, this is a book which Akshata wrote. There are 2 other co-authors.
There is one there, Alex.
One of the co-authors there is Alex. Alex, if you could wave. Phenomenal developer advocate in the MuleSoft team. If you follow the Twitch stream, Alex does a lot of good tutorials there. So we will actually give out a copy of this. All you need to do is pay attention over the next 15 minutes. At the end of the session, we'll ask you a question. Very simple question. Whoever answers it takes away the book.
And not just that, Gaurav has been the technical reviewer for the book, so it's Gaurav verified.
Okay, so let's move forward. I think we'll do the slides from there. Okay, so as I said, the expectation is if you are a Salesforce developer, you'll not walk out of this room becoming a MuleSoft expert, but we'll try and give you some concepts which will hopefully make you more interested in learning MuleSoft. So we'll start off with an introduction to what MuleSoft is, and we'll talk about those 5 key things that you should know as a Salesforce developer about MuleSoft.
Clipper
Then the
isn't
fun part, we will actually give out the book and we'll do the trivia and the Q&A. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what is MuleSoft at a very high level. Akshata, can you give us a 30,000 feet view of what MuleSoft is?
Of course. So we have seen that there were few hands who have been using MuleSoft. And are there anyone who's planning to use MuleSoft or integrate your systems with MuleSoft? There are quite a few potential ones. So yeah, to get started, what is the basic question, right? What is MuleSoft? So you must have heard that it's a middleware integration tool. That's true. But there is so much more to MuleSoft when it comes to integration ecosystem. You can design your APIs, you can build your integration, you can actually connect everything and anything. Other than that, you can actually connect any system or application or data with any of your system, not necessarily Salesforce, no matter where your data is residing. It could be residing in Salesforce, or it could be residing in any of the third-party tool, third-party end system, and you can still bring in your data from the silos, connect it, and build an integration. Other than that, you can also build end-to-end automations with MuleSoft Composer, with RPA. So there is definitely a lot of potentials with automation to boost your productivity, to boost your development time, basically. And with MuleSoft's Anypoint platform, you can actually build, integrate, design your APIs, test, deploy, everything from one place. And even after it's been deployed, you can manage your APIs, apply security, and sustain them for managing the entire API lifecycle on the unified platform, which is Anypoint platform. Moving over with this.
Let's talk about the 5 things that we want you to know. So the first one is automation.
Yes. So moving ahead with automation, like we all have heard about automation, what basically it means. To simplify it, it basically means that we are reducing the human intervention or we are making it as smooth as possible without a human intervention, either reducing or like completely eliminating the human intervention. And when it comes to automation, you can either go with the Salesforce flow, you can go with MuleSoft Composer, but the overall automation architecture, when you're talking about the basic structure, that of course the algorithm, that it remains same. So you're going to have a trigger, which could be triggering your event. It could be something like an HTTP request, or it could be some trigger point, like based on your scheduler or based on scheduling triggering an event, basically. Based on that, further you'll be taking some action, which will be like some user-based action or some using some connectors to connect with different end systems. And once you have taken some actions, you could be having a decision maker for which you could be using an if-else block or a switch statement. So this thing, this algorithm or this structure, it remains same for your automation irrespective of which automation tool you're using. And Gaurav will be sharing us like more details about Salesforce Flow.
Yeah, a very simple example that you can visualize is like an invoicing system. You get emails which contain invoices, and then based on the email comes in, you have a bot which is kind of looking out for those emails. If the invoice is valid, take certain action. If the invoice is not valid, take certain other action. So while RPA is a relatively new concept, if you have been a Salesforce developer, you have probably heard of Flow. There were other tools like Process Builder and Workflow Rules, which are being deprecated in the future. But if you also heard about Mark's keynote, he actually emphasized on Flow, the power of low code. And one of the advantages of Flow is it actually orchestrates all the complexity. So regardless of how complex your workflows are, whether it involves legacy system, whether it involves getting data from multiple objects in Salesforce, all of that can be orchestrated in Flow. So again, that's a really good tool to know, and coupled with the power of MuleSoft Composer, which Akshata will talk about shortly, it becomes very, very powerful. And again, Einstein 1, which was again demonstrated in the keynote, will actually elevate the power of Salesforce Flow. You can actually build a lot more powerful automations than you were able to do that. So let's talk a little bit about Composer as well.
Yeah. So as a Salesforce developer, why you should be knowing Composer? Basically, what is Composer? It's a no-code, low-code tool which will be like helping you to build integration in your environment. Basically, you can log in into your platform, your Salesforce developer account, and you can get access to Composer in your platform, on your platform itself. And as I said, it's a no-code, low-code tool. You do not need to know the basics, the hard-code integrations, coding languages behind it. It's, as we have seen in the flow as well, Composer will help you to seamlessly integrate different systems, data from different backend systems or different end systems basically, and bring them together. You can also automate it to boost your productivity. You can get a holistic view of all your architecture, your entire architecture, and your data which is residing in different systems. And it's, of course, it's easy to use. So for the ones who are like quite new to integration or who are reluctant towards coding or who are kind of beginning with integration journey, this is your go-to place and you can start ahead with integration. We also have a few connectors, a lot of connectors, and you can also connect with different end system using your REST APIs. Other than that, let's take an example, like how you can bring in Composer into picture. So let's say I have a customer support team and I'm integrating with Salesforce and I'm going to raise a request, like basically there could be some incidents which I'm raising, and if there are any escalations with those incidents or if there are any serious issues, so I want to be, I want my messenger, I want my regional leader to be DM'd over Slack about the escalation message. Or if there is any resolution modification to the case, the customer support case, I want the message to be sent over Slack. So this is like a very simple use case which we can see here. So let's see how we can implement this use case using a MuleSoft Composer. So this flow is similar to what we have seen in the first slide, the basic structure, where if there is an create and update Salesforce case, which is going to act as a trigger. So basically, whenever there is a new case which has been identified, my flow will be triggered, my Composer flow will be triggered. Based on that, we are going to have a decision maker of the status. Like if there is any escalation, I want to go ahead and send a message to a regional leader over Slack, or if there is any resolution or if there is any feedback on the case or some comments, I want the particular entity to be like notified over Slack, for which I'll be having different connectors, different the if-else block statement which I could be using, or a switch loop, and also different actions to perform. So we can actually implement this using Composer. Moving on to the next part, like the second point.
Second thing which we'll talk about, how many of you have heard about a language called DataWeave? Oh, wow, I was expecting no hands, so that is a pleasant surprise. So DataWeave actually now supports Apex. So if you can go to the next slide. So what is DataWeave? So in a typical integration environment, you typically have an input metadata format and you want to transform it to an output data format. So very simple example could be you are getting an XML feed, you want to do certain transformations on it, and then you want to return a JSON object based on it. So DataWeave, the power of DataWeave is it's very, very lightweight, very performant, and it supports multiple MIME types. So you could have like any of these MIME types, JSON, XML, plain old Java objects. It could also work with the Excel files as well. And then you can actually pick and choose what is the output format, what is the output metadata format that you want to use. So till now, MuleSoft was able to leverage DataWeave capabilities, but Salesforce has done a really good thing that you can actually now use DataWeave transformations as part of Apex. So let's go to the next slide. I'll actually explain you how DataWeave works, and then we'll see how it works in Apex. So very, very simple example here. I have two events, the two flagship events Salesforce has in an XML format, TDX23, which happened in March, DF23, which is happening now. I want to convert them into a JSON format. A simple DataWeave script, if you see, it's just 4 lines of code, and out of those 4 lines of code, like one is a header, one is a separator. I specify what is my input data type format, what is the output data type format, and then I specify what is the payload I want to generate, and it actually prints out the JSON for it. So let's actually look at the structure of DataWeave in general. So there are essentially 3 components. One is the header, where you specify what is my input MIME type, what is my output MIME type. You have all the variables, header declarations, everything that you need to do. Then a separator, which basically defines the header is done, I want to actually do the actual processing or the actual the business logic. And then in the body, you basically specify, this is what I really want to see in the output format. The header specifies the output format is JSON, but what does that JSON actually contain is what we specify in the body. So let's see an example of how this works in Apex. So now, as I said, this is actually supported in Apex, and as I mentioned earlier, I've been doing Salesforce development for about 17 years. Every time I need to do some manipulation, I need to do CSV parsing, I need to do XML parsing, or I need to play around with Excel files, I still go to GitHub, I still go to Stack Overflow, I copy code snippets to see if they work or not. With DataWeave support, you don't need to do that. So the idea is it built into Apex now. The only thing that you need to do is you need to actually use the DataWeave namespace. If you do not do that, Apex will not recognize that this is actually DataWeave code, and it will not work. The other thing, obviously, there is a DW folder structure which contains all your DataWeave scripts, and then there is a good tooling around it as well. So there is a VS Code extension which actually provides support for DataWeave. Let's move forward. There is actually a DataWeave session, multiple DataWeave sessions happening at Dreamforce. So I would encourage you check the agenda. We'll not be able to get into a lot of weeds because this is only a 20-minute session. The third thing which we want to cover is Anypoint platform is all about creating API endpoints. So how do you call them from Salesforce? Let's look at a very simple example. So here I have a simple example where I have in Salesforce, I have a product object based on a scenario where a product is being created or where a product is being updated. What I want to do is I want to update something on the inventory system, which is an external system. So the way it works is, from Salesforce, I do an Apex call out, which goes into MuleSoft. It calls my system API. What the MuleSoft system API does is it publishes it publishes an event to an Anypoint messaging queue. The messaging queue then subscribes the event to a process API. As an Apex developer, all of this functionality is actually abstracted to you. From your perspective, all you'll do is you'll create an HTTP class, you'll set the MIME type to JSON, you'll call the API endpoint, and everything that is happening in the background will actually be done by MuleSoft. So let's actually see what is happening. So this is an example of what the HTTP request would look like. So for example, I'm specifying the object is product. I'm specifying, if you see the payload, the name of the object, the family of the object, the code of the object. Let's go to the next slide. How do I fire this request? Again, if you're an Apex developer, you have probably seen the HTTP request class. You specify the parameters, you specify the body, you specify the MIME type, and then you fire the request, and then you look for the response. So again, from an Apex development perspective, you are essentially doing everything same as you would normally do. All the backend magic is actually happening in the MuleSoft side. So let's actually see what happens on the MuleSoft side. So once you've called the API endpoint, which was, if you see the first node here, is the endpoint listener. So this is my endpoint definition. This is actually looking for that HTTP request. Once it gets that HTTP request, it will parse out all the parameters. It will set the payload, and then it will publish that particular message to an anypoint message queue. Moving on, this message queue then feeds into my process API, and then based on that, I could call the, as I said, the inventory system, any other external system. That's the overall power of MuleSoft and process APIs. Under the hood, again, from an Apex developer perspective, you are still calling that API. You are not really exposed to all of those details, but if you use them together, it's a very, very powerful combination. I think that's it. So moving on, Anypoint Code Builder.
Yeah. So coming to my favorite part. So until now, we all have been using Anypoint Studio, which is an Eclipse-based IDE for MuleSoft development for building Mule application. But now we have a brand new studio called as Anypoint Code Builder, ACB, which is actually built on top of, like, it's similar to the code builder you guys have, like the interface is quite similar. And also, yeah, it's available as a cloud-based, and it's available as a VS Code plugin extension. I mean, it's available on VS Code as an Anypoint Code Developer, Anypoint Code Builder extension pack. And it's in open beta now, and it's expected to be GA this winter, next month, October, hopefully. Yeah. So using ACB, you can actually design, build a Mule application. You can do it simultaneously, like designing your APIs and then scaffolding it to build Mule integrations. You can deploy, test, debug, everything from your VS Code if you want to work locally. Or you can do it from your cloud-based Anypoint Code Builder version as well. So you have both the options. You can either go with the cloud, or if you're comfortable developing locally, you can stick to your VS Code version. Moving ahead, as I said, yeah, it's available. You can run it in desktop, or you can run it in cloud. And that's not it. We are also bringing in AI to it with generative flows. So if you're someone who's completely new to MuleSoft and is still getting started and need helps with development or flows, we are bringing in AI like generative flow, which will transform your natural language to flow skeleton. Basically, it's going to generate the MuleSoft flow for you. But that's still in pilot, and you can expect more updates in the coming time. Moving ahead, let me give you a glimpse of like how Anypoint Code Builder would look like. So this is the VS Code version, wherein you can see there are like, let me show you a quick demo, not a quick demo, but just a slide. Like you're having the VS Code thing, the graphical view where you can add a new component. You just have to select which connector you want to add to, and that will be added. And similar to this, I mean, adding extension to this, we'll be also having generative flows for it. So that's about the Anypoint Code Builder desktop. Moving on to the next point, the last and the fifth one, MuleSoft accelerators for Salesforce Cloud. So we have been like, let me tell you first, like what actually accelerator mean. As the name itself suggests, it's going to speed up your development time. It's going to help you with building integration quicker and faster and reducing your go-to-market time. So accelerator, it basically comes as a bundled package, which will be helping you, providing you ready-made APIs. It will be giving you integration templates, architectural reference diagram, LWC component, and everything bundled as a one package. Let me give you an example. So for example, we have, as I said, like we have accelerators for different Salesforce Cloud. We have accelerators for Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and so on. They are available for free on Anypoint Exchange. You can just log on to like anypoint.mulesoft.com, go to Anypoint Exchange, and it's like a marketplace, the Anypoint Exchange, where you can find different connectors, accelerators, templates, and everything at one place. So with the help of accelerator, you can just download them. Like suppose if I want to connect with, like I have an use case where I'm integrating with different Salesforce Cloud. Basically, I'm having Service Cloud, I'm having some Sales Cloud, I'm having data in my backend system as well, which I want to bring it, unify it, and integrate it basically. Also, I'm having some ticketing system, Jira or anything else. So I'll be having an accelerator which is ready-made. I can just download it. It's going to basically give me an entire Mule application in which I can further just go ahead and remove or add any of the connectors I want, just customize it as per my requirement, as per your requirement, and it's ready to use. So you're basically cutting off the development time by using something like a ready-made package available for you. And for those of you who are building like your Mule project for the first time or who want to stick to the standards and best practices, you can use them as a template as well. Like if I'm using the correct code convention, if I'm using the best practices, the naming convention, and everything has been aligned to the standards. So that's where an accelerator actually comes handy. And it can actually speed up your development time to like 3 times the normal one. With that, we have almost covered like all the 5 points, 5 aspects as a newbie to MuleSoft, like you should be keeping into mind. Other than that, we also have a few resources which you can avail, like to get started, get onboarded on MuleSoft journey. The first one being the Gets MuleSoft Trained and Certified. So we have like, you must be knowing as well, or this is new. So MuleSoft Level 1 certification is for free. You can just go ahead to training.mulesoft.com, get your level 1 certified. There is a self-paced like development course, like the learning course, which you can complete at your own pace and then take the certification for free. You can sign up for Anypoint platform, which is an iPaaS tool which we have seen, using which you can access all the MuleSoft capabilities. You can access Code Builder as well. It's anypoint.mulesoft.com and you get a 30 days free trial account. The third one, there are a few new trails on Trailhead related to MuleSoft AI, which we have recently published like in the last few weeks. So do go to Trailhead on this link, and you can just find out the similar trails as well, and you can just try them out.
Yeah, we do want to highlight the MCD level 1, which is the MuleSoft Certified Developer level 1. Again, the entry point is slightly lower. It's not a very complex exam.
Yep.
If you do the self-service course, if you do all the assignments, if you are from a Salesforce background, you'll see a lot of parallels between Salesforce and MuleSoft development, and there's a very good chance that you'll actually pass that exam in the first attempt. And the moment you complete your course, you actually get a voucher for free, and there are multiple retakes as well. So.
And you're actually elevating your profile as well with that. Moving on to the next one, you can join MuleSoft community on Trailhead, where a lot of conversation regarding meetups, Mule topics, integration topics happen. You can shoot your questions, you can answer your questions, you can get answers to your queries as well. So do join the MuleSoft community at Trailhead. And the next and the last part for which we have been waiting for.
Yeah, so as we promised, we'll give away a book, and so since it's the end of the day, we'll not ask a very difficult question, but if you paid attention, please raise your hand, don't spit out the answer. To use DataWeave in Apex, what is the one thing that you need to configure? If you do not do that, then it will not work.
Import the mandates?
Import the package. Okay, that is not the right answer. Anybody else? So you need to configure a namespace. If you do not do that, it will not work.
Yes.
Okay, well
Thank
done.
you. Also, it's available on Amazon and Pack Publication as an ebook, hard copy. So if you want to learn MuleSoft, get your MCD completed, do check it out. You can get it as well.
Thank you for staying back.
Thank you for staying with us.